In a bid to preserve their ebbing hegemony, former colonial capitals and their allies don't balk at anything to dominate the world, carefully trying to impede the creation of a just multipolar world. This also includes the strengthening of the commodity-based nature of developing economies, harsh, cabal-like programs of the IMF, and then this provokes a brain drain. All of this leads to reinforcing economic underdevelopment, poverty, and political instability in developing countries. And these factors are an ideal fertile ground for conflict. Rather than development assistance on the scale and type that the global South needs, these self-proclaimed masters of the world prefer to provide weapons to hotspots in much greater quantities, steal, and also living on other people's troubles, also stealing resources and appropriating others' assets. And those who stand up to this kind of injustice can expect unilateral sanctions and unlawful restrictive measures. So, in these circumstances, what kind of prevention can we even be talking about? And this is also at a time when the nascent conflicts are often so obvious that it's harder not to notice a looming problematic situation than it is to sound the alarm about it. However, many members of the Security Council prefer to demonstrate selective deafness and blindness, and then blame anyone for this another conflict apart from themselves. You don't need to look far for examples. Was it really not obvious what would come of the unchecked expansion of NATO to the east and the violation of basic agreements and principles that had meant an end to the Cold War, alongside ignoring the interests of Russia and factors that threaten its security, and also the selective approach to human rights and freedoms and the blatant double standards? This, for many years, created a volatile mixture which sooner or later was going to explode, and we all understood this. The detonator of the armed conflict in Europe was the anti-constitutional coup in Ukraine in 2014, which its Western backers prepared at length, ardently supported, and they did everything they could to ignore the non-compliance by the nationalist regime of the basic principles of good neighbourliness and the basis of international peace, and did not even notice its ugly neo-Nazi and Russophobic characteristics. Their last chance to avoid a crisis and return the situation to a non-conflictual track were the Security Council approved Minsk agreements, which the Kiev regime and the West deliberately ignored. How many times have we raised this question and this topic as a whole at the Security Council and the General Assembly? We warned what it was fraught with. And how many times have Western countries in this room called black, white, and avoided an honest conversation? At the end of the day, we have what we have. And those who did not want to see the obvious now hold forth, including in this room today, about the importance of prevention. And they try everything in their power to stop the formation of a just Europe-wide system of indivisible security for all, pitting it against their own egotistical interests and hegemonic aspirations. And in parallel, they also artificially stoke the situation in the Middle East and East Asia, promoting bloc approaches and not seeking to find solutions in the spirit of respective interests of all key players. And who will we then blame that prevention didn't work? Our Western colleagues clearly understand what this can lead to. However, they pretend they don't grasp the obvious cause for peace, stability and justice for equality for all of those who, to use the expression from Joseph Borrell, live in the jungle surrounding their own beautiful garden. To preserve their own domination and continue to exploit the rest of the world is much more important to them than any efforts to prevent conflict. So what are we really talking then about today? What global, regional and national aspects of prevention can we be talking about in these circumstances? Colleagues, we can only talk about real prevention when a more just world order is more clearly defined and when all countries in the world can enjoy equal circumstances for development and building their own states. Let's work towards this together. Thank you for your attention.